Yeah, that was a very enjoyable game to watch. That was probably one of my favorite games of all time, if we're being honest. You know, 30 million people, close to 30 million people watching that game, and just the way they won it, it seems like that's going to be burned in many people's minds for a long time, and might be associated with the sport for many people. So I think that's important, having that kind of recognition for our team and that kind of brand association. Uh, the players did an awesome job at kind of driving it home with every play, with every action, at every moment. They were kind of dialed into what was going on and capitalizing on all their opportunities. And they were okay if things weren't going well for them, because there was a lot of trust in the overall performance. So that was kind of a beautiful thing to be a part of that, because I think that's going to carry forward. That'll be remembered by the players, and perhaps be kind of career defining for a lot of them. Just to the conversation of will Graham stay if AP is staying? Yeah, I think they would stay, because I think the reason he came here originally might have been beyond just Josh McDaniels. I think he liked the environment of the Raiders, and wants to be a part of Las Vegas and Super Bowls. That's that's his agenda, and that's good enough to justify staying, even if it's unorthodox or different having the coach come about the way he did. But it's not something I haven't seen. Like, I've seen this before with the examples I gave with our last conversation. Pinball Clemens, he became an intern head coach, and then became a full head coach and GM, and then ended up winning a championship. So the roadmap is possible, and players do rally around that. And I think it's kind of interesting to see what's going on with the Chiefs. Their kind of collapse is signaling that the Raiders are rising in popularity, and that could be a momentous thing for getting free agent signings and things that the Raiders haven't seen in a long time go their way. Yeah, the Harbaugh thing's really complicated because he's got a lot of options, and it's my feeling that his number one option is staying where he is, because that's seemingly his dream and passion, and what he's been talking about the most throughout his later part of his life. And he's pretty old now, so that's difficult to see all this like chaos and changing things without that taking a toll on his age and body. Like, maybe that's an underrated part of it. Like, AP is relatively young, and still has a long career path ahead of him. Like, I think he's the first one to acknowledge that he doesn't have the long history of pedigree and what have you to believe in him, but he has his players believing in him, and that's kind of he's making that his calling card, which I'm not sure what else he could do, really. Like, that's probably the strongest strategy, is to empower his players, and then have that create a culture, and then Mark Davis kind of see that, and then realize that that's different than pretty much what's been going on there for the past 20 plus years. So uh, yeah, that's pretty much all there is to that. I think he should go to Atlanta. That would be kind of a nice place for maybe they get a JJ McCarthy in the second round, and he plays for like 3-4 years behind him. That would be kind of cool. I think he should go to
All right.
Atlanta, not to the Raiders. And
Yeah, that's right. You
he
did.
should probably
No.
like mentor a young guy like JJ McCarthy, who I think would learn a lot from a guy like Russell Wilson,
Yeah,
because
that's
he's
facts.
younger. The topic of whether or not to trade Adams, I think
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
one of the deepest wide receiver classes in recent memory. Like, these top 10 guys are all arguably going to be having the potential to be a number one wide out, like big dudes, super fast. Uh, you'd almost want to gamble on two of them to replace Adams if you trade him. Uh, the guys that I like the most is Tez from North Carolina. He plays with Drake May, and
yeah.
he was really strong early in the year, and then kind of tailed out at the end. But um, his style of play, I think, translates to the NFL really well. And Leggett from South Carolina, he's also a big body, super fast guy, very similar. and the two of them together would just be unreal. Like two 6'4" gazelles. They just outrun everyone and catch the ball at high points. And Adams, I think he would do best in New York. Honestly, like he's at a point in his career where him and Rogers, like that that would be kind of like full circle moment, and makes a lot of sense for them to trade a decent asset for it. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't particularly happy with the franchise tag in the first time around. I can't imagine if we tag him, it's going to go any smoother. So it's difficult to imagine a situation where he's going to be here unless he's getting a longer term deal. And that's possible. And the way that I see it happening would be to front load the contract so that it could like get to a more reasonable number as we're entering into more of a perhaps golden primetime opportunity for a postseason run. Maybe start at like 20 and then end at like below 10 over like 4 years or so, something like that. Yeah. So kind of just what I want to touch on here was that I've noticed a marked difference just over the course of the year and how guys are moving around throughout the course of the game, through adversity, through success. It just seems much more stable, consistent, and there's an element of you can believe in it more. There's less doubt and more certainty, clarity, that kind of vibe that's coming off how people are playing the game and moving around. Spillane is a perfect example. Like he's taken his game up like 2 levels in the past few weeks, and I mean Jack Jones as well. But just the kind of swagger they're showing. Jack Jones when he picked off Mahomes, like giving him the stare down as he runs by, like that was just so. It made that play so memorable. That's going to stick in people's minds probably for his whole career, like the stare down of Mahomes as he walks into the end zone. So I'd just love to see more of that, is playing the game the right way and then expressing yourself through confidence and swagger, not going overboard and picking up penalties. But I kind of liked how Jack Jones was staring down the Chiefs players when they ripped his mouth guard out. Like he didn't back down at all. Like he put his chest up, and he wasn't seemingly chirping or saying much, but they all kind of got in his face, and he didn't let that change him. He held his ground, and it was the right thing that the rest of the Raiders came in to pull him out, but he didn't fight it. So that was also a perfect outcome, and I think having that outcome will really create a routine effectively where guys are able to push the limit of the envelope without crossing over and punishing and hurting the team. And that's a fine line to ride. But AP's kind of dialed it in a way where he's able to get the most out of guys, where they're feeling like they can be themselves and take risks without having it backfire more often than not. So that's pretty ideal. And you can definitely see it in the way people are moving around. But I did notice Devontae, after a couple of the passes, I think somewhere behind him, he did react with some body language where it indicated his frustration. But that can be a healthy thing too. Mahomes was commenting on that Kelsey, when he's throwing his helmet, he's trying to hold guys accountable and like bring kind of attention to the fact that it's not all right what's happening. But that was kind of clearly coming from a place of there's a lack of accountability in the Chiefs' domain, and that's probably from the fact they lost Eric Bieniemy. He seems to be the one that was holding that whole operation together, and now that he's gone, the way they're moving around, their body language, there's a lot of doubt and uncertainty, and that was so evident when they were playing the Raiders, because the Raiders were the total opposite end of the spectrum. So that was pretty noticeable. Another point that's interesting to touch on is the interaction between Kelsey and his head coach. When the head coach tried to get Kelsey to calm down, he had like been really friendly with him and tried to console him almost, whereas I believe Eric Bieniemy would have been more boot in the ass kind of approach. So big difference there. Yeah, that's a huge amount of things that have to go right in order for the Raiders to get into the postseason. But I mean, it somehow feels possible because I do see the Raiders winning out, and I do see the Chiefs potentially losing out. So that would be pretty ridiculous. But I kind of have a feeling that could happen, just based on the way things have gone. And also just something that popped into my mind was the game that I had attended in 2007. That was the Giants versus the Lions, and both AP was playing on the Giants, and on the Lions is the Lions' current head coach, Campbell. And it was amazing because both of them had pretty good games. AP had 10 tackles that game, and it was a defensive matchup. Strahan had a bunch of sacks, but that team went on to beat the unbeaten Patriots. And it was just kind of hard to imagine at the time that was even possible because the Giants didn't look that amazing, and Eli Manning didn't have that big a game. And for the most part, that season wasn't that remarkable. But they sneakily had an amazing defense, and Eli Manning kind of had a magic touch to a lot of his throws, and that's what ultimately won them the Super Bowl. And I'd say that's a similar quality with Aiden, and it's interesting that AP was making that comparison, is that Aiden kind of has maybe not the greatest athletic ability or anything like that, but he certainly can put a bit of magic on his throws and just put it somewhere where you can't imagine it being placed. And he seems to do that pretty often in his college tape. So eventually that's going to come around, and I could definitely see him throwing like 4 or 5 touchdowns in a game at some point and not being that surprised or not being a huge deal. Yeah, that was a struggle last game, but in some ways that was kind of a philosophy that game took on. They wanted the Chiefs to try and stop the run and be able to run the ball regardless. So they did that with purpose, and it came to be working out in their favor. So Aiden didn't have to make a ton of throws, but had they had to rely on Aiden, I do feel that Aiden can step up and win games. And hopefully we'll see that down the stretch. Like, that'd be really cool if in Denver Aiden has like a massive game. That would be kind of something that I'd be looking forward to, crushing the Donkeys with a big game out of Aiden. That would be an ideal way to end the season. Right. So obviously this is a huge momentum opportunity. If they can carry anything forward from that Chargers game, it's going to be massive for them. Huge opportunity to earn new fans as well. Christmas Day, there's going to be a ton of eyes on this game. So everything matters. Like they need to be aware that there's going to be a camera on them at all times. They can't get away with trying to pull quick ones, because it's going to be a very tightly covered game. Yeah, well, Mahomes has had a lot of success against the Raiders. Everyone knows that. He's, I believe, like 10-1 against the Raiders, and he averages around 300 yards a game, and he has close to 30 touchdowns in those games. So those are huge numbers. Going to have to put a dent into those numbers if they want to win, and I think they can do that if they get out to an early lead, because the Chiefs have not been doing well in late games this season.
Yeah, that is facts. Rudy, you have anything you want to add to it?
Yeah, Travis Kelce, I mean, for a while, it looks like you neutralize him, but then he comes back in the second half. And like I said, there's a lot of things we may not know about the Chiefs completely. There could be injuries or something that, they might be playing injured. As far as I could say, he's a very difficult guy to stop, but you can't put a linebacker on him because he'll burn him easy. Put a safety on him, he'll use his body and just overpower him. Most of the time, you got to double team him. So, he's the best guy on third down. Like it's 3rd and 10. Patrick Mahomes will throw that ball directly to Travis Kelce. No matter how good you cover him, that's the guy he'll throw. That's his main guy.
I
So
think
it's
the
gonna
key
be
is
tough
if
for
we're
him.
getting pressure on Mahomes, then he's going to have to stay into block. And so if Max has a big day, if he's playing, yeah, it's going to be a huge boost for the fan base if they manage
Salute,
to
Al.
crush
Appreciate
the
you, bro.
Chiefs. It'll turn a lot of people over
Salute,
to the dark
fellas.
side.
You go. Keep going, man.
Just as far as the keys to the game, I really think it's getting pressure on Mahomes. I liked your suggestion of getting maybe a cornerback blitz involved because he's fast. You're going to have to chase him down. So that'll be a big help. And as far as disrupting Kelce, I think if he's trying to chip block, maybe our defensive ends can kind of lean into that and give him more than he's bargained for and hold him up, jar him at the line, disrupt the timing. Maybe the cornerback comes in on the blitz. That kind of thing can do a lot. But cashing in with an interception if they do manage to get pressure, I see safeties being big in that.
Yeah.
And maybe not our big name safeties, maybe our depth safeties. With regards to getting really physical with them, Kelce is getting older, so I think that could have a pretty underrated effect on him if it's like a team effort where everyone's getting their shot in on him over the course
That's what
of the
I'm
game.
saying.
By the time fourth quarter runs around, they're already showing weaknesses in the fourth quarter that could really add to it.
He
As
must
you
line
stack
up
those
too.
hits.
Like, do you think we can go in there
That
and
would be
do
a
that?
dream
Like,
come true.
Yeah, and do you think the team has the energy to carry it in there to do it on that
Yeah,
day? Like,
yeah, I
that'd
do.
be a big time deal.
I think guys are going to be willing to sacrifice for this game more than most. This is going to be one of those games where someone's going to be willing to put their body on the line to do something they might not do in just any other game. And that could be the difference because it's related to the previous one. Basically, the idea is that I'm not really a huge believer in Jakob Johnson's contributions to this team. I get that that's a super difficult position and makes the defense kind of, have second thoughts about filling a hole because then they got to deal with Jakob Johnson. But I think there's way more value if you have two running backs in the backfield. Against the Jets, Josh Jacobs was a lead blocker for Carter on a sweep, and he took out two guys lead blocking for him like it was nothing, two defensive backs. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, why isn't Jacobs in a more of a rover role where he can go into slot, where he can lead block, where he can, do things that are unexpected, the defense can't really game plan for? That would create a lot more opportunities for the other backs to play off of that, as was seen with Carter when he took that sweep against the Jets on I think it was a 4th down as well.
Yeah, it was a 4th and 1. It was a.
That was wild. I love that play so much.
Yeah, it was a handoff from the line of scrimmage.
And Jacobs crushed two guys on it too. Like I want to see him do more of that. Like if he's a physical guy, like use the skill. If he's a receiving threat as well, like that's something Jakob Johnson's not really known for. So if he goes out into the flats, like the other team has to respect that, and it's gonna be harder to get pressure on the quarterback if they're looking for the running back to squeak out, and there's another running back, maybe you could do a draw if they're trying to send pressure.
Salute, Raider Gabe. Appreciate you, bro. I agree. I mean, but do you think he's healthy enough to be able to do that? Do you think he's healthy enough to be able to chip block in the backfield and take out dudes like that are fully healthy? Like that's
I don't
the thing
think
that
you have to rely on him for as many touches. Like I don't think he's going to get 20 touches, like carrying the ball. Why I'm saying maybe put him at different positions is to lessen the load, the physical load on him. If he's able to run create more passing opportunities, but not necessarily catch the ball. That's still being on the field and needing the other team to account for him without taking more physical beating. If he's kind of already on the mend.
What if they get rid of Yak and just put Michael Mayer there?
Yeah, that works too, because now the other team is going to have a lot more things to account for than just a guy.
Yeah, because Michael Mayer lay a fucking guy out right now. I mean, that guy is coming around like a bat out of hell. I mean, that guy's blocking. That dude's fucking blocking the catching. I mean, this guy is becoming an actual complete guy. And I've even said I fear what this dude will come into next year, especially with everything he's doing already right now later in the season. He's becoming a real deal Holyfield when it comes to blocking motherfuckers. So.
Yes, he is. And that's part of my time. That's part of my topic right there.
Yeah, the fullback by committee would be pretty nice because then you could get more versatility in there, and that's going to put a lot more pressure on the opponents to have to game plan for more things. Yeah, this is kind of a fun one for me because, you know, we haven't really had Jack Jones on the team too long, but already he's made a pretty massive impact, and that impact goes beyond just the impact on the field. He's been making all kinds of great sound bites in his interviews that have really impressed me. He comes off as a very savvy, smart player who can kind of see into the heart of things and really call it for what it is. So the idea of narrative is what do we face, what do we want, and how do we get there? And by creating kind of a story that puts you as a character into a place where you have a kind of a purpose, you're able to, in effect, shape your future by sculpting people's perceptions. So what he said basically is a number of things. I'll read a couple of them off and then kind of give some comments on them. He said that he's not worried about Patrick Mahomes. You got to stop the magician, then the act is over. It's so simple and so sweet and gets to the point of, you know, you attack the leader and you do damage to him. That's going to affect his whole team. So I think kind of saying that out loud, now everyone's going to pick up on that and kind of carry that energy into the game and really look to have that come true and be kind of a self-fulfilled prophecy. And then the other comment that he made was that he was kicking ass in that game against the Chargers. And, you know, it doesn't matter if it was like a preseason game. Like, the fact is they got their asses handed to them in a really, like, brutal way. So, you know, he said it how it was, regardless of how other people see it. That's how he felt it. And he spoke his truth into existence. And that's going to define that game for the team. And one other comment he made, this goes on Twitter a while back. He said, people fail because they give up on what they want most for what they want now. Stay down till you come up how I came up. So he made that post in August during the summer. And that just made me kind of think about it. Like, timing really is everything. And it's so important to develop your skills and hone your ability and improve your physique and do everything you can to be the best player possible. But if you get a bad narrative around your story, it kind of taints your ability to thrive in that environment. You're kind of held back by how people see you, their perception of you. So kind of having that fresh start with the Raiders, like this is absolutely massive, and kind of ties into this idea that it's the right timing for it. And he's kind of set these stones in place for being successful on his own terms. Like, he might not have had the success he wanted in New England, but now's the right timing to be, you know, taking the center spotlight as a DB. These big games could get you into that spotlight. And he's kind of set himself up nicely with some of these sound bites that I think will carry some weight with the team and kind of energize his teammates as well, and cause the future to be sculpted by it in some ways by having an impact on the narrative. The last quote he made on Twitter that I'll mention, he said, tell Madden to fix my speed. 88? What are we talking about? So he's guarding his reputation. Like, that shit means something. And I
heard Ruggs say something like seriously. That too when he was playing. He said that he believed he was faster than Tyreek Hill.
Ruggs?
Yeah, Henry Ruggs.
Yeah. And I do think he is fast. He was wickedly agile for his size. I mean, he jumps like he's 6'4", and he's like 5'11", but unfortunately that dude just screwed his career up.
Do you think 88 is a fair speed for him in Madden, or do you think he should be in the
I've
90s?
never seen, I mean, have we ever even seen him sprint? Like, I don't know if
the burst on that interception, that's more acceleration, but yeah,
it was more like people were standing still and he ran around and jumped the line. I mean, he's gonna look a lot faster when people. Yeah, he's gonna look a lot faster when he's the only guy moving in that type of diameter. You know what I mean? Like, these dudes are doing this, he's going out here. Of course, he's gonna look like he looks like 100. You know, so But I would have to see him in an open sprint and be able to determine that. But like, yeah, he's fast. I mean, if we're talking about burst and he needs some speed burst up or something, like I would agree. But I don't know. But yeah, maybe 90. I mean, 90 just because he's young and he's fucking good.
With my breakaway speed.
Yeah, I'd have to see, to be honest with you.
I've heard that on video games, like players saying, I think it was I can't remember who the player was. It was a Green Bay Packer player. He's playing Madden. He says, "Hey, what happened to my breakaway speed?" He got tackled before he could make it to the end zone. He's like, "You guys got to work on that. I got to have my breakaway speed." It's pretty funny how NFL players say about a video game. And this was like early 2000s, I think.
Did you say he said he was a badass?
Oh, he said we was kicking ass.
Oh,
in
kicking
regards
ass
to the Chargers. And he said it with a huge smile on his face too. It was
that's so good.
The kicking game, it's gonna be windy, so I don't think either of them are gonna be too confident if it's like 20-mile-an-hour wind. I'd like to mention the Mike McDaniels video that I had shared. That video really resonated with me because it almost felt, in some sense, that he might have heard you. And he was kind of owning up to it, realizing his mistake. There was an element of awareness in what he was doing. And in that awareness, there's a lot of discovery. And it wasn't just him discovering it. It was his whole team was discovering it along with him. There's like a journey element going on.
Yeah, Pigs. I mean,
quarterback part.
The head coach
He wanted Tua. Mike McDaniels, but it was Brian Flores that didn't want Tua. He wanted to draft. And so there was kind of a divergence.
He wanted to get rid of him.
Culture
he wanted to cut him.
Process that kind of crippled the team. And I think Brian Flores leaving was because he didn't go along with, I guess, what the ownership wanted.
The owner tried saying that. Well, he tried to say that the owner wanted him to tank and all these things, but that's he says. I can't speak on that.
It feels very similar to Ziegler. There's kind of an element of trying to repair one's reputation.
Yeah, that's fact. That is.
His name is Michael Clemens. Upon ending his playing career, Clemens became an interim head coach with the Toronto Argonauts in 2000.
Is that the guy you were talking about for the team?
Yeah. So if I scroll down here, you can see his coaching record after becoming intern head coach. He won a championship. It's called a Grey Cup, but these are all playoff, like division finals. All the pink. And gold is obviously the winning it all. But you can see he struggled his first 2 years, year 2000, 2001. And this was the linebacker on the same team, 2023. You can see 2023.
Don't show any inappropriate content, Pigs. Don't show any inappropriate content.
Right. But you can see COVID.
Be careful.
He won
it's a family show.
He won the year before COVID a Grey Cup, and the year after he won a Grey Cup as well. But you can see the same thing in 2014, 2015. He missed the playoffs. So in both cases, there's this element of, I guess, learning, struggling with.
Is that the guy you want, Pigs? Is that why you're bringing him up? Is that the guy you want?
No, it's a guy that played in Canadian football. He was the coach and player, but.
Oh, like he coached and played at the same time?
Yeah.
No.
I can explain it further. My headphones just died. But basically, Michael Pinball Clemens, he was a running back from, 80. I think he started his career in 1987 with the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, he was drafted by the Chiefs, and then he played with the Buccaneers. And then he came to Canada the year I was born, actually, in 1989. And then, when I was growing up, he's the reason I started playing football, actually.
But what's your reaction to these guys when they tell you?
I've got a simple answer. If they really truly believe it, they should put their money where their mouth is and sign deals that'll win a Super Bowl, not deals that'll wreck the rest of the roster. Like Jacobs, if he wants AP as the head coach, he should sign a long-term deal that fits in that narrative. Like not
Dude,
20
Max
million a year,
advocated
but
for
like
Rich
10 million a year.
Versace. The
College is that players who sign these NIL deals, basically the team then has to justify paying them the money, so they force feed them the ball. For instance, if it's a wide receiver, they're throwing them the ball even though there's players that are better than them. They're just not being paid, so they don't use them. On the Raiders forums, the two players that got the most hype was Darius Hayward-Bay and Michael Mitchell. Yeah, they were constantly being talked about on the forums, and then we drafted both of them. Like, I couldn't believe it when it happened. I was like shocked for days because
you have all the talent that was
so hyped.
Yeah, and you have all the talent that's in that fucking draft too. Go look at all the talent that was in that draft that year.
We drafted Campbell, the lineman, in the 5th. Everyone was predicting Campbell would be drafted by Al Davis in like the 1st. That was the wild thing. Was a fucking lineman who was out of the league. I actually saw Campbell play because he came and played for the Toronto Argonauts, and he was pretty good because he was fast and he was huge. Like, describing a mediator, someone who's able to take all the opinions of everyone basically, and then decide what's best for the ultimate direction of moving towards the big picture goals versus just looking at, I need to make good on my contract so I can get another contract. Someone who's able to basically steer the ship in the right direction and not misdirect it according to their own personal bias, but allow it to stay a course towards the ultimate goals. What I believe is essential to that is quality of character. Someone who's effectively a stoic, doesn't care about the money, doesn't care about the reputation, the fame, the glory, but rather someone who's purely in it for the outcome because it's the right thing according to their purpose. And I don't think that's something that's easy to find. And good luck with Mark finding that, because Mark hasn't made many good decisions. So to pick someone to make the good decisions on his behalf will take a miracle. I think he thinks he found that in Tom Brady, and maybe, just maybe he did. But I would trust someone like Pinball Clemens because I actually know this person. I met this person. I shook hands with this person, and I believe in that person. The quality of character. He was a GM as well as a coach. He was a player too. He's literally the one person that if I were picking, I would pick that person. Without a doubt. And I'm a true Raider fan, and I wouldn't want to lead people astray. I wouldn't want to lead myself astray. It's weird because I feel Pinball Clemens believed in me when I met him, and I feel like he believed in me more than I believed in myself. And in a lot of ways, that's what you need in leadership roles, is people who believe in you almost on a spiritual level, not just a physical level. And I don't think we've gotten too much of that in our organization. So it's a bit depressing. Being a Raider fan.
Very true. I mean, so if you were going to pick out a Brady and John, who would you think would have the better management at it?
Between those two, probably Brady. I think you picked the younger guy in that situation. No slight against John. I just think he's been through too much, has too much baggage. Brady's a little cleaner, despite the baggage. He's younger. It's that simple. Well, part of what I was saying before was that it would be ideal if the person wasn't as heavily invested financially in the operation, who's more looking at it from, as I said, a different angle, a unique perspective, like a fresh perspective. If you have all owners kind of making the decisions, it seems to be quite frequent they fuck it up. It's like biased opinion and contrived kind of politicking, and it kind of taints the product and ruins the
but I don't know if that. Who's that?
It's Khalil Mack.
That's fucking badass. That's a treasure card?
Yeah, it's 101 too.
Yeah, that's fucking fire, bro.
You see the 101 on it?
Yeah, I see it. That's fire as fuck right there. Yeah, that's badass. That's sick as fuck. I thought that was Khalil, and I kept seeing because the way it was reflecting, I'm like, is that a treasure card, dude? That's fire.
This is one of my favorites right here.
Mac Attack.
It's a rookie card.
Nice.
Check the
Is that
number.
Dad
AB?
used to like
Is that
AB.
AB? Oh, hell,
69.
burn the card, bro. Nah, hey, you know, he was a badass, I'm not gonna lie. I wish he would have worked out the
he's an
Raiders,
idiot.
dude. Like, I really do.
He was a
Yeah,
great, talented
it's
guy,
six,
but he was
I
a
got
jackass.
69. It's serial numbered 69, so I had to get it.
Yeah,
I got
that's
it for like
badass.
$10 too. It's so funny.
No, that's
His rookie
badass.
card, and
That's
he
badass.
signed it too.
I mean,
It's probably worth
AB
some
was
money,
arguably
though,
the
bro.
best wide
It's
receiver
probably
in the
worth some
NFL.
money. Damn right. Damn fucking right.
Much as I don't like him, but you know, it's the truth.
Who's that fucking? Is that basketball fucking card?
It's Christian Leitner. He had the perfect game in 1992, where he went perfect from the field. He won back-to-back championships in 91, 92.
Nice. I didn't even know that. What's his name?
Christian Leitner. He's the only guy who's ever done something as crazy as that. But this is probably one of my favorite cards right here. Flight suit.
Flight suit. Who is that?
Flight suit.
Yeah, no. Who is the player? Oh, is that Vic?
On card 101, signed on card flight suit.
Is that Vic?
The dog fighter.
Yep.
That's fucking badass, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. That's fucking fire. That's fire.
Yeah. Vic, man, he had some of the best cards because they knew he was going to be amazing. So when they made his cards, like, they really made them with a lot of care.
Yeah, that shit's sick, bro.
It's kind of retro, I guess, but
You know, he was a fucking different breed for damn sure, man. Like, he was a whole
Oh,
different
yeah.
breed of player, man.
Vic.
And some people try to say that Lamar Jackson was a Michael Vick, and I said bullshit.
Michael
Not
Vick
even
was a
close.
whole different breed, dude. Like, you couldn't
Yeah, he
do
could throw
what
that
Vick
ball
could
like
do.
at 900 miles an hour at the same time.
Dude, and
know,
fucking outrun you like a motherfucking pimp, bro. Like, he was just fucking. Who's
But
that?
he actually had a good freaking arm. I mean, he was better than
I can't
It's
see
Lamar
his name.
Jackson.
It's Justin Timberlake.
Oh,
Shut
no.
the fuck up. Playing basketball?
Yeah. Justin
I thought
Timberlake.
it said, I swear I thought it said Justin Timberlake, dude, but I'm like, there's no fucking way that says that.
It's a different Justin Timberlake?
Yeah, you guys have covered it pretty well. There's the big potential for their D-line to dominate if they get going, but Aiden, I think he moves around in the pocket well enough, especially given it's probably only going to be a four-man rush. There's not going to be corner blitzes or too many linebacker blitzes. So, as long as he's sliding and getting the ball out quick, then I don't think Gus Bradley is going to necessarily have a big day. But that all kind of relies on our protections. As far as the Colts' strength, I think it lies in the run game. Jonathan Taylor having a big day. If we can shut him down and put all the pressure on Gardner Minshew to air it out, I think we're going to have some turnovers because we'll have pressure in that regard. So shutting the run down will be super key, and has been done by a lot of teams this year. So that's pretty promising. Additionally, the 6 sacks they gave up, that's really that should excite us a lot. Like our team coming in with momentum, they should be looking to capitalize on the weaknesses that have been shown over the past couple of games, with some up and down performances by the Colts, where I think they were giving up like 30 points and scoring only like half that. You also have to stipulate that there was multiple penalties, drop balls, and so forth that
I don't give a shit what it is, dude.
Well.
You
so
can't.
saying 62 and no completions doesn't tell the whole story at all. Like, the
do
Chiefs
that shit to
cornerback
nobody.
has shut down everybody who's covered this season. Snead, he's a lockdown corner, and
Yeah,
he
their
was
team
holding
most
on Adams.
definitely has done good. Our cornerback, their
And
team ain't that good.
It requires the refs to be complicit with star players. Once you've established your brand of football, like a Snead has, he's able to get away with things that he's been doing routinely. So Adams has to kind of just deal with the fact that he's dealing with more physicality than he would be versus a lesser cornerback. So just to backtrack on Aiden O'Connell, he did throw a touchdown in the red zone. He threw that jump ball to Myers that was really good, but Myers is obviously injured now, so that's off the table. If Fotheringham can get a jump ball, that'd be pretty sick. But Cooper, he hasn't been as good as I'd hoped he'd been. as I'd hoped he'd be. In any event, speaking on O'Connell and the winning agenda, I kind of just wanted to talk about his character as an underrated trait of O'Connell's. I know he hasn't shown a ton on the field as far as what we'd like to see from him yet, but he has shown a ton of character. And our AP's kind of touched on that when he said he was checking in with O'Connell throughout the game, kind of testing him, poking or prodding his psyche to try and see inside what he was experiencing and what he was going through. And he seemed to pass the test, according to AP, as far as like showing him what he wanted to see. So that's kind of falling on his psyche, which a lot of QBs, like when it gets to playoff time or crunch time, they tend to crumble. It's just it's not in every QB to rise to the occasion and not make mistakes, that kind of thing. And O'Connell hasn't really, in that KC game, he didn't really make any mistakes, whereas Mahomes, like he fucked the game up. Like straight up Mahomes lost that game for KC, and O'Connell didn't lose the game for the Raiders, so that was the difference. And O'Connell, throughout his time at Purdue, he had developed chemistry with a lot of unknown, unranked, low-grade receivers, tight ends. He turned his teammates into superstars when they weren't at all regarded in high school or any development classes. So that just shows the kind of character, again, to be able to see past what everyone else is saying as far as projecting and speculating and kind of seeing with his own eyes what's what and then building from that. A lot of QBs, if they don't get the big toy or the big name, they kind of have drama or issues believing that they should have more. O'Connell's going to play with what he has, and it doesn't matter. He's always going to be striving for a win, even if he's not having the stats. Like, he's looking to win the game. A lot of QBs, again, they need to have stats to feel good about their own performance and might force the ball and cause a turnover and, lose the game just because they aren't playing well. You're not going to see that with O'Connell. I do see a lot of similarities with Eli Manning. Eli Manning was a very polarizing quarterback, someone who I hated on lots, but also I respected him a lot. So I could see that in O'Connell too, where he's not doing things the way the rest of the QBs in the league are doing it. And much the same with Eli Manning. He was kind of his own quarterback, and it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and they would get frustrated watching him. But ultimately, he wasn't like a quote unquote leader or a rah-rah guy, but he gave that.
Yeah, but the difference is Peyton Manning had fucking Harris in them, and he was scoring touchdowns and yards with them the whole fucking time. It's like I said right here, building chem with players, it doesn't matter if you have superstar players on your team and you can't win with them. Like, you can go to Purdue, dude, where you're the eighth overall quarterback in there, spend time to get up through the rankings, and then build with the players, which they had good tight end. They had a
1-6 record his first year, so it wasn't like he came out the gate on fire like most quarterbacks. Eli Manning.
Peyton Manning had a fucking 1-15.
Eli Manning, not Peyton. Eli.
It doesn't matter. He had a 1-15 fucking season. So what's the point?
I wasn't talking about Peyton. In any event,
Eli sucked anyway. So why are we even talking about Eli to begin with?
I mean, as I was just saying, Eli's a polarizing quarterback in that he wasn't everyone's favorite quarterback, but he didn't really care what other people thought. He was playing the game to the best of his ability, and ultimately he was better than most. So I think there's a lot of similarities in O'Connell in that I can see the strength in his character to be able to continue developing even with adversities or struggles, whereas a lot of QBs, they're out of the league after their first struggles. So it's a big difference as far as the longevity of it.
Eli had, for stars, probably the best receiver in all football. And then we're acting like, oh, well, he's got to get development and he's got to take. No, the fuck he does not. I guarantee you bring Jaden Daniels to him in the first year.
During our last discussion, we determined that Adams isn't the best receiver right now.
Say again?
We determined during the last discussion that Adams has regressed. He's not currently like the
I'm not fucking saying that he is the best in the whole league. He's easily the top 3. He ain't fucking one of the worst.
Well, Snead
so
did
look,
a good
if
job
we're going to be sitting here on technical...
I still think, I'm not really sure what your point is, but as far as the topic of O'Connell and the winning agenda, I don't believe Jimmy G gives us a better chance. Definitely not Brian Hoare. I'm 100% believing O'Connell
you said
over
you
those
don't
two.
know what the conversation makes sense. Is that what you just said?
No, I'm referring to the topic of O'Connell and the winning agenda. I believe he gives a better chance than Jimmy G and Brian Hoyer for winning.
That's my point. How? What gives you that information that
because he's not going to turn the
Jimmy?
ball over. Jimmy G's going to turn the ball over. He's not been throwing the ball nearly as good as he was in his early.
He might have turned it over because of the fucking shit that Josh McDaniels may have had him play. He is yet to play with
He's not making quality throws.
It don't make no sense.
Yeah, O'Connell's throws are looking like better quality throws.
I bet.
His throws in KC.
I bet
he made
his whole
quality
62
throws.
fucking yards.
Mahomes'
I bet.
throws looked pretty.
I fucking bet.
That's why he got picked off.
I bet, dude.
O'Connell didn't get picked off because he wasn't risking the ball throwing it into bad coverage situations.
All right, sure.
I'd rather him overthrow.
Yeah, Ozzy, you have anything you want to add to this, man?
Yeah, I'll just say we've got to stop praising like a rookie quarterback. Like we can't keep saying because he's a rookie. Because go say that about CJ Stroud, who's having like a fucking one of the best rookie seasons of any rookie in the last fucking decade.
Fucking no-name people, fucking.
Yeah, exactly.
Insane.
So we can't keep using this thing. Oh, he's a rookie. Well, say that. Well, what about CJ Stroud then, or other guys like Burrow when they came out, or fucking Herbert when he came out, or fucking whoever else? Like, we've got to stop using this fucking thing of saying, oh, he's a rookie. Well, guess what? This is the NFL. If you come in, you don't do shit, you go and get someone better.
Well,
like, that's the NFL. It's not college. It's not high school. It's not fucking the USFL. It's not the XFL. Like I've seen enough of O'Connell. At this point, he's a backup. And if you want to give the kid time to develop, let him develop as a backup, or battle as a backup next season with someone like Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix.
That's that. He ain't fucking gonna be no starter. He's not gonna be a starter. He don't have any tangible inside of him. Fuck his throw gonna look however the fuck he wants downfield. He ain't doing shit with it. Can't get in the end zone. 1 touchdown per game. Again, it is opinion. It's opinion, so it don't matter to me. I'm not here advocating for Aiden Nora with anybody because he's not gonna be it. He'll be a backup. He'll be a journeyman. He'll be a Ryan fucking Fitzpatrick. Watch, fucking that's what he'll be. His fucking stat line and shit indicates it by miles. This is the thing I think about what's funny about football. You don't got to watch these fucking dudes for 10 years if you've been watching it for 30, been playing it. I played football for 20 years of my life, dude. Like, I've watched these motherfuckers on the field all the way to the highest. I ain't gonna sit here and watch a fucking dude that can't get open to a wide fucking receiver, wide the fuck open, overthrow him by 20 fucking yards, 10 yards, double coverage, can't get into his shoulder, off the fucking deal. You know, people can sit and pick however long they need, but it's not going to be him. It's going to draft a fucking player and go from there. And again, I've said it. If Bo Hardegree's play calling is so elite that people claim, he should be able to put in Jimmy. Jimmy's better than Aiden. There's not a fucking doubt about it. He's been in the motherfucking Super Bowl. He's been in the fucking NFC Championship game. He's taken the fucking team to there. He scored touchdowns, fuck all kind. We're fucking advocating a fucking dude that's had fucking 7 starts, got better than Jimmy. What the fuck? There's no fucking way in hell. There's no way in hell. Sit here and talk about his interceptions. Hey, I ain't going to argue his interceptions, but he was just on Kyle Shanahan's team, just playing phenomenal ball. Didn't throw interceptions, was throwing fucking great fucking passes, good yardage, great fucking people. No, that's bullshit. Fucking Josh McDaniels probably was the biggest cause of that. And if fucking Bo, if it wasn't Josh, Bo should have nothing to worry about. You should be able to coach that motherfucker, no problem. Get out there and do it. At the end of the day, Jimmy can go put up a touchdown and 2 touchdowns per game. Let's look it up right now. Pull up stat line right fucking now. Let's see what Aiden's fucking stats are in a 7-game touchdown. Like 1 touchdown? Is he averaging 1 fucking touchdown? Like, come on.
Football's the ultimate team sport. Everything in context. Pull out stats and then try and prove a point by pulling up stats. Like, that's not really progressing the conversation.
You must not play the sport. Because
it's just trying to end the conversation as opposed to, you know.
It is, because if you know the deal, you wouldn't say stuff like that. You want to say that shit. The quarterback is the all-star of the fucking team. He the motherfucker runs the team.
I'd like to
not going to sit
reply,
on
but
this
I'm not really
conversation.
sure what I'm
Do
replying
you have
to.
anything else you want to add to the O'Connell winning agenda?
Then his actual quarterback rating is like 31.8. So, like, again, backup.
Right, and let's talk about the sample size. Like, how many games is this based
9
on?
games
How
with
many
8
throws?
starts. 9
That's
games with 8 starts.
Right, against a few good teams, a few bad teams. It's really not
Actually,
telling you as
if you
much
want to
as
get
just
technical,
looking at
the
his
only time
throws
he
and
scored
analyzing
touchdowns is
that.
against bad teams. No, the only time he scored, let's be real, the only time he scored touchdowns is against bad teams. Look at the Vikings. As soon as he went up against a decent Vikings team, didn't do shit.
Well, yeah, again, it's
Right?
a team
Didn't even
sport.
score anything. You
I don't
can't
know
say that,
how we can
man.
just blame the quarterback for the offense's failures. Like the running
No,
backs, the
that's
wide
not.
receivers, the
No,
tight
I
ends.
would love to know.
Ultimate
I
team
would
sport.
love
That's not what
to
you're
know. I would love to know this question. Okay. All right. Listen. You know that's straight bullshit right there. You know that is straight bullshit. Because how in the fuck did the offensive line just automatically up and change from not allowing Jacobs to run for shit, and then all of a sudden this guy Zeus comes up in here and he's getting up 100 fucking plus a game? How is that? What did it just magic? Did it magically just change that quick? No, the fuck it did not. So whatever. We're not even gonna go down this road.
What was your point there? I honestly don't know what your point was.
Not even getting into it, man.
The point is that Aiden O'Connell's had plenty of time in the pocket.
I
and
didn't
he can't
ask
do
you.
anything
I
good.
That's my
Dustin,
point, dude. The guy's had plenty of time to evaluate the fucking plays, throw the fucking ball. Like I said, pull up the tape. Watch Chargers game, watch fucking Chiefs game. If you fucking need to watch tape, probably need to watch tape. But if you don't watch it, that ain't my problem. I watch it like 20 fucking times over a week. So most definitely can tell. You ain't gonna go over here and just watch the fucking game. So you're like, oh, I'll pay attention to this. And I watch that shit fucking 20 times over. That fucking guy got plenty of fucking time. If the fucking offensive line got better for the fucking run for Zeus, we know goddamn well he should be able to throw the fucking ball. They couldn't hold on for nothing their whole fucking time throughout the game, throughout it. We're sitting here trying to make excuses for the fucking guy. That's not going to happen here. Sorry, that's not happening here.
I feel like during my topic, I talked about the character of O'Connell. I wasn't really focusing on the quality of his performances, but that's where the conversation was kind of.
Well, because you said, well, what struck it is that you said the time that he'll need fucking playing in development with Purdue and those type players. That's what you said. I just went off what you said. I didn't.
Lower tier players and was able to elevate his.
He got superstars. What's his problem? That's my point. That's what you just said. He had lower tier. We ain't talking about him having lower tier in fucking Purdue.
And he's showing chemistry with Tucker.
Got one of the best receivers in all of football. I said was the top. You said, oh, not number one. We talked about.
You said the best receiver in all of football, and then I pointed out that last week we determined he's not the best. But
that's what I said. Either way.
Okay.
That's exactly what I said.
The whole conversation around O'Connell, I was trying to make it more about the quality of his character, and that a lot of QBs don't demonstrate the intangibles that he's showing, and that AP had brought attention to by comparing him to a guy like Eli Manning, who was also a controversial, polarizing quarterback.
All right, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. But when you're labeling him having lesser talent and he got fucking goddamn fucking Devontae Adams, that doesn't make sense.
Well, I was just referring to the fact that he's developing chemistry with his guys because he actually cares about who they are, and a lot of QBs, they don't necessarily care who their teammates are.
I get it. I mean, developing chemistry don't consist of your superstar player having fucking 10 yards.
He was covered by Snead last game.
Damn, I forgot.
Like Snead has covered everybody. Like, check Snead's stats.
Yeah, every game. I know every team, every game.
But even if you,
I'm thankful that Aiden didn't lose us the game in the fashion that Mahomes did. So, like, there's that as well. You can be the best quarterback in the world, but if you blow the game, you blow the game. O'Connell didn't blow the game.
I mean,
I'll disagree with that take. I don't think fucking Patrick Mahomes lost the Chiefs that game at all. I think they fucking receivers
from the first snap.
Damn right, their receivers didn't catch shit all game long.
Yep.
He fumbled snaps. He was throwing kind of
Pacheco fumbled the snap back to him is what happened. That was between the halfback and the quarterback.
There were multiple fumbles.
And he
Multiple
fucking
bad
threw.
throws.
There were multiple fucking his Kelsey fucking dropped the ball right out in the fucking open multiple times for first down, 10
It was
yards.
terrible weather. It was
MBS
cold,
dropped the
wet.
ball. Fuck, all their receivers suck, dude. All
With Josh McDaniels is that he had everyone walking around on eggshells, so no one was
Yeah.
really feeling comfortable or in their skin. They were worried, looking over their shoulder constantly, second guessing what they were doing, and that was reflecting on the field. Guys were not playing to
Yeah,
their
I even
potential.
said it. I said, oh, because I said, like, I wanted Josh McDaniels to stay because I wanted to keep Zeke. I come out and said, oh, he crow on that. And it was pretty obvious after he left that it was an ego thing with Josh McDaniels. Had a fucking ego.
And people feel that it creates an energy, and then everyone's like uncomfortable.
Facts, yeah, it does. It definitely
hurts
does. Like if you have someone with an ego,
take pick after pick each week, that it's not going to happen.
This will
like
lead
that.
into my next topic: drafting real Raiders, because this is ultimately what's going to push the team forward. Is having the following waves of Raiders come into focus, as it should, in order to be the dynasty that it ought to be. So this is really why it's so important that the right decision is made, is because right away they're going to be thrust into the opportunity to make choices that will affect our current players who are superstars, and is affect a gamble for them, because if it doesn't work out, then they may not go to the Hall of Fame. So having the right coach, the right GM, is the right thing to do for people like Max, because he's pretty much sacrificed himself for this organization, and it'd be a real shame if the wrong choice is made and the potential Hall of Fame career is not coming into focus. You wouldn't want to see him go to another team and become a journeyman in the same way that, unfortunately, Chandler Jones has. That's someone who ought to stay in New England and finished his career there and been remembered as a great like Tom Brady. Instead, he went to a bunch of teams and kicked around. And if that happened to Max, I'd be really upset with the Raiders. And I'm already upset about the Nnamdi Asomugha situation. So having more of that would be too much to bear. Like you start to love these players, and when you see them abused, it feels like you're abused in some way, and it can't continue. Like as a fan of the sport, I care way too much to allow that to continue. So I hear what you're saying.
Especially a guy like him, like a guy like Max.
It would hurt.
Yeah, because you that's the whole thing. Like when you're looking at Kuntz, like people are like, well, they shouldn't extend Kuntz, and I'm like, you're crazy as hell. That's why we drafted that fool, was to extend him. So like, we're not extending somebody else's product. Yeah. We're extending our product. Like, we're not going out trying to give other dudes fucking that they developed fucking 15 or 18 million. Like, Malcolm Kuntz is our product, dude. That is our shit, our draft, our work, our deal. I couldn't agree
more. This is something that probably doesn't get talked about enough, is ultimately what this all symbolically means to the individual fan when you build a relationship with a player and then that ends in a tragedy. Like you carry that as like a scar, effectively, and it could be a badge. It could be something that uplifts everybody and brings us all into a higher form of fandom, something where we're all proud and happy and bringing positive emotions to the conversation and encouraging more success in the future because of our feeling as positive. So we're able to see positive instead of feeling negative, and thus everything is becoming negative.
No, it's true.
This is from previous regimes and is able to be the consistent factor across the multiple waves and iterations of draftees, such that if there is one point of consistency, it is the player, because the coaches have come and gone, whereas he's remained a consistent element and able to establish the culture most effectively because of it. Coaches do want to come in and establish their culture, but ultimately it's up to a few players to really know what it's all about and put it in big picture contexts for the new players coming into it, such that they're able to believe and maybe be a part of a dynasty if that's the kind of culture that's being crafted by the player. In this case,
I've always said
the topic I want to pitch this to you, Dustin. If the culture is important, and we've established this is pretty much primary to all of it, is having the right fit for the right person in the right situation, the right time. Culture is kind of the overlapping of those things. there's players in the past who have stood out to the entire fan base as obvious culture fits. More recently, Jalen Carter, but before that, Christian Barmore, Quentin Williams, Leonard Williams. These guys all seem like Raiders, and even prior to the draft had been indicating they saw themselves as Raiders. The fans saw them as Raiders, but then ultimately the regimes bypassed them for other decisions. So moving forward from this kind of realization that these guys were, in everyone's opinions, Raiders, is there any hope that this will change, this trend of guys that are almost like destined to be, and then the opportunity seems to like go by? And for this next draft, is there a guy out there who's like those previous ones that pertain to the topic in the draft? Based on what you were just saying, I want to connect it to some notes that I have here. It's very important that the Raiders, like watching tape, as you're saying, but it's also the case that the players who are in college about to transition to the NFL, like they're very concerned about their fit and where they're going to end up. And so it's my opinion that they're going to be watching some of these games, especially players who don't have games to prepare for at this point, who finish their seasons. And the way that the Raiders finish these games is effectively going to be in these players' minds coming into the NFL. Like this is going to be how they're thinking of the Raiders. So in a way, our end of season results will affect how players perceive us coming into our organization. So if we're playing at a super high elite level, we'll come in here with the expectation that they're also going to be playing at that super high and elite level. Natural synergies for Harbaugh in the sense that he'll already have the idea of who the players are from a character perspective that might be difficult to attain from an interview. That's typically very difficult to do. Like, very statement game in the sense that so many people watched it. Like college players inevitably
29 million people. 29 million people.
Yeah, it blows my mind.
And
the idea makes sense. Naturally, the synergies are obvious. If only like it's the same case with AP and Jack Jones. They know each other so well that there's a trust element there that's manifesting on the field.
I would agree with that. Aiden's got to have a really big day. It's going to help open up a run game in a lot of ways. If Gus Bradley has to respect what Aiden's doing, then Zamir's going to have a big day. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to, is coming out the gate with a lot of confidence, a lot of physicality, carrying over from the Kansas City Chiefs game, and being able to establish that physicality will really help the confidence of the offense. Just being physical will lead to those the bigger runs kind of opening up. But Aiden taking a shot deep, that would be pretty cool to see, especially early on, just to keep the defense honest. Give a shout out to Mike Mitchell, our former second round draft pick from way back when Al was still around.
Yeah,
he's coaching for the Indianapolis Colts. He's their defensive backs coach, and he's in his second year right now. So that'll be kind of cool. Maybe you can get a peek of him on the sideline, and you never know, maybe he'll make his way back to the Raiders one day. That would be pretty sweet. He was a good dude. Definitely a Raider.